Have you ever gazed upon the mesmerizing patterns on a cow's hide, or the distinctive stripes adorning a tiger's coat, and pondered the mysteries of nature's artistic prowess? Today, we are about to embark on a journey that will provide a unique perspective on the creation of such captivating designs. Hello, and welcome back. I am thrilled to present the conclusion to our two-part series, From Patterns to Interactions. Welcome to the second part of our series, Unveiling the Gray-Scott Reaction-Diffusion Model. Imagine that you have two chemicals, A and B. There's a bowl in front of you, full of B, but you don't want it to sit by itself, so you add chemical A into the solution at a specified feed rate. As the two chemical B molecules converge, they convert an A molecule into their own kind. But there's a twist. Just as the chemical B seems to multiply, there's a counterforce. Chemical B is slowly removed from the stage by a specified kill rate. It might seem overly basic at first glance, but don't let the simplicity fool you. This unassuming model evolves into a powerful tool, accurately simulating the intricate patterns and mimic reality itself. Let's look at the equations that simulate this story. Whoa, hold on a moment. The equations on the screen might seem complex, but fear not. We'll break them down step by step. But first, we need to establish a visual representation, and that starts by creating an n by n grid. Remember our story about the chemicals A and B? To keep track of their concentrations, we'll create arrays for each as shown. These arrays will correspond to the variables A and B in the equations. The variables F and K correspond to the feed and kill rates, respectively, that are to be defined. dA and dB are the diffusion rates of chemicals A and B. The triangle T corresponds to our time step. Because these are differential equations, the forward Euler's method is used to render the system's evolution. But what does that upside down triangle squared mean? This scary looking variable is known as the Laplacian operator. Normally, it is a continuous function, but computers are discrete entities. Thus, we can represent this in our 2D simulation by the following process. First, let's take a point in the array on row I and column J. Look at its adjacent and diagonal neighbors. We can then multiply all of these values by a particular 3x3 matrix to perform the Laplacian operation. These equations add up to the updated concentrations A and B prime. Once updated, we can swap this with the previous concentrations to continue the process. But wait, it's not all just numbers. We want to see these patterns come to life. By assigning color scales based on the concentrations of A and B, we can visualize the magic of diffusion. In the following animation, I perturb the middle of the solution with a small box colored with an input of chemical A so we can witness its diffusion. But this is really slow. Right now, the computer is working hard to calculate the values one after the other. But what if it could multitask? By introducing parallel computing, we can dramatically accelerate this process. The final step in increasing our speed lies in that funny looking operator we defined earlier. Right now, we are looking at 8 neighbors for every point on the grid and multiplying it by the following matrix. A reasonable approximation that won't affect the accuracy of our simulation is called the 5-point finite difference stencil method. This only looks at the adjacent neighbors and multiplies it by the following matrix. This is much better than what we started with. But we can reduce the grid size to reduce computation time and scale it back to a viewable size for the user. Before we do that, I want to allow the user of this application to craft their own chemical shapes to their heart's content. While rendering boxes, crosses, and stars, are straightforward, drawing circles require a bit of computational magic. I'm honestly still trying to wrap my head around the so-called midpoint circle algorithm. To wrap things up, I'll add that scaling function I talked about to increase the speed, a start menu, randomized colors each time the application is run for a little element of surprise, and options for 2 different diffusion modes. When you open up the application, you'll be greeted by a lovely descriptive screen that explains what it's about and how to create your own shapes in the solution. Let's start with the first mode, Coral. As you can see, the diffusion pattern resembles what you would see in, well, a coral. This seems more consistent with what you would see in other forms of wildlife like zebras, giraffes, and tigers. Now let's try the other mode, mitosis. This diffusion pattern resembles a bacterial-like growth. I wonder if this is how diseases multiply. Well, something to look into, I guess. Before I conclude this video, I'd like to make a few suggestions for the future of this project. Even though we made a lot of computational improvements to our code, the ceiling for speed is limited by using Python. Maybe using C or C++ with the open graphics library would allow for the better utilization of our computer's graphics card. If this is done, we can even optimize how the pixel colors are assigned by not having it have to iterate through all the points in the grid. Maybe we could divide the screen into chunks and only render what is necessary by using fragment and compute shaders. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. The animations used were generated in Python. I've linked the program that we've created in the description for those of you who are interested. That being said, please like and share this video. Subscribe if you enjoy and would like to see more of this type of content. Goodbye.